And welcome Wolfpack members, community, and family, as well as any students. What we're going to do is we are going to be jumping in and looking at our family orientation video for this school year. And just want to say thank you to all the friends and families for our new incoming 9th graders and new to WCPA students who came to orientation. And if you're unable to make it, this video gives you a chance to go ahead and get caught up with a couple of key pieces of information along the way. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first, want to show everybody our leadership team here at the high school. First, my name is Brenton DeFlitch, and I am the principal here at WCPA High School in Delano. You will also see Assistant Principal Miss Camille LaFleur and Assistant Principal Miss Becky LeGrant on the team. And so you'll be working primarily with the three of us as leaders on the campus. Also a part of our principal office, we have our front office support as well, and that is Miss Julie and Miss Salas across the board. So you're going to be getting a lot of phone calls from them and chatting with them, but we wanted you to see the faces of the people that sometimes you might get emails from or phone calls as well. So jumping into our opening reminders, I'm going to talk a little bit about our mission, vision, and values and goals. And the best part is most of these have not changed. This is really a big year for us of not having a lot of change in the foundation of the school. So first at the top, you have our district vision, which is WCPA is a rigorous, inspiring, and community-based learning environment that ensures all students graduate with the academic knowledge, critical thinking skills, healthy habits, and personal efficacy to thrive in college and career, and to be transformational leaders in the Central Valley and beyond. So here at the high school, we took that and made it specific to our school with some of our structures. And so our mission, what we see is the vision of the ideal state and what we are working towards, comes down to our school cares for families, students, and other community members as they transition out of 8th grade through their post-secondary orientations. Now, as part of our College Access for All model, students will have the opportunity to take college coursework as early as the summer before their freshman year. Now, to note this year, we've added our own student development teacher. So not every student that needs to start a pathway or one of the trajectory trees will need to take student development in the summer. We're actually allotting time in their freshman year schedule to take that this year. And so all grade 9 students will be taking student development during school this year, which is super exciting. All right, back to the vision. When students hit behavior and academic milestones, WCPA high school students will have access to collegiate work while continuing to complete all A through G requirements. And we'll talk about what A through G is in a moment if you're new to high school terminology. Students will receive appropriate supports to ensure student growth. Now, our school community believes and acts on the idea that all children can and will succeed given the right systems, structure, and instruction. So to us, focusing on what we believe is our path from 8th through the start of college and how we're going to work hard to make sure students have the best version of themselves in those college seats. All right, our expectations and commitments. Our expected student learning outcomes, our SLOs, have not changed from the previous year. We're keeping those the same. I'm super excited now that we finally finished the poster for our school. And they'll be going up in many classrooms. But our SLOs for students, what we expect all students to kind of have in their value set, is to be a critical thinker, to be a leader, to be a light bearer, and to be a community builder. Now, students can show these in a variety of ways when they're entering and exit campus, when they're at lunch, when they're during breaks, when they're in classes. And so we work with students to identify what this looks like for them and how they can develop these traits as well for them. And lastly, you can see at the bottom our commitment to families. And these are the things that we're committing to you to do, where we're working on creating the proper environment, hosting a learning environment where we believe all children will succeed, a high level of planning and execution of rigorous learning, and partnering with you whatever issues arise or new ideas come to fruition. And so working on those together. Next, we have our embedded goals. And so these are kind of, we have academic goals and we'll be sharing those later on, but we kind of see these goals as sort of the keystone to achieving our social, emotional, and our academic goals as well. And so first and foremost, we got about 90% or more of students will earn 30 or more college credits along with their A through G programming prior to high school graduation. So that means that out of the 150 students in ninth grade right now, we want 90% of them at least to not only pass all of their high school courses, which is how you get A through G credit, but they also pass their 30 credits of college. Now, when we went out and talked to all these universities, they said that is the marker for separation, and that's the marker that's going to elevate them in their process. So we can focus, if we can get every kid to that point, they will be standouts in applying to most of the universities and colleges that will be on their list. Additionally, looking at lifelong goals, right? It's not just about our academic goals. It's not just about the college credits, but it's really about who they are as people, which you see in the SLOs, but also their access to having a great life in the future. And so first, we focus on students having the ability to own real estate, which is knowing, a mortgage process, which is knowing cash down, which is knowing payment options, which is knowing that entire process along the way. And so we're going to help them that as they become adults to understand real estate ownership. Next, we want our students to understand how they can become financially stable, and also to understand that as they accumulate, hopefully, wealth for themselves, that they understand and have a drive to impact the community around them positively. Next, we have access to affordable and effective healthcare. And so by doing that, we know that healthcare saves lives, whether it's preventative measures or it's intervention measures after something has arisen. But having access to cost-efficient and high-quality healthcare matters in both the longevity and the quality of life. And next, we have enacting healthier lifestyles. We want students to understand how food impacts their body and their mind and their emotions and all of these things, and to understand what it takes to be truly healthy in our lifestyles. And so those are some of the goals that are at the heart of the changes and things we do on campus. So now let's take a look at our momentum forward. Now, one thing is that all of our students are considered A through G students. What that means is that our courses are attached to providing A through G requirements to get into UC and CSU universities and colleges. Now, that means that you have to take a certain number of courses and pass them with at least a C or higher in order to be eligible to enter a four-year university, especially here in California. That means that what is A through G? A through G are the different buckets of subjects in high school. So A through G is literally the letter A, or bucket A, through the letter G. And in bucket A, you're looking at how many classes and types of classes a student has to take with history or social sciences. B are English courses. C, math. D, science. E, language other than English. F, visual and performing arts. And G is electives. And so the numbers in here don't matter too much because these are from the state. We have our own board accepted process for graduation in A through G, as well as posters put up all around the campus in both English and Spanish of what those requirements are. Now, the key thing here is if you fail one of these classes, like it says up here in the corner, if you fail one of these classes and you're not submitting your work on time and you don't get that C or higher, you will have to retake the class. And that is a vital part of understanding grading and how you get credits, is that even if you finish with a D plus and it's just 2% away from a C, you will retake the class. Because if you don't retake the class, your transcript is not going to be usable at a four-year university. And you might be sitting there coming into freshman year or even sophomore year and go, well, that's fine. But we look at it and say, we want you to have all those opportunities at the end, right? And not making choices now, they're going to reduce those opportunities later on. So it is very important for students, one, to not just be at school, but to attempt and turn in all of their work. Listen, all of the work might not be perfect. It might not be right, but you have to at least have attempted the work. If you're attempting it, you will grow, and we will see those pieces across the board. Now, in addition, here's the grading policy. So we do quarterly and semester grades. So you can see here, same as last year. Quarter 1 grades are worth 45%. Quarter 2 is worth 45%. And then their demonstrations or midterms in December are worth 10% of their grade. So if you take 45 plus 45, you get 90 plus an additional 10. That's 100% of how they get the first half credit of the year in that course. Then quarter 3 will count as 45. Quarter 4 will count as 45, so there's 90. An additional 10% for finals and demonstrations. That will count as your 100% for the second half of your credit for that course. Now, this means if you look at quarter 1 and quarter 3, if you go back in time here at WCPA, you used to be able to turn in work from the first quarter all the way in December. Or in quarter 3, if you could turn in quarter 3 work all the way in May and June. That is not the case anymore. Quarter 1 and quarter 3 locks the grade books and locks those assignments. So you want to make sure that before we get to the locking point in October, and I believe it is March, April, that you have your assignments all caught up and turned in, because those are lost points on the board once that locks. All right, and we'll be sending more information about how to calculate the grades and those elements through Parent Square as well. So Access for All is our college model that we take as a foundational approach here at WCPA. So we see as sort of 5 trajectories or 5 strands that sort of lead to overall success. So first we have our full pathway on the left, which we call our Sequoia. In here, roughly, I think we're sitting around 75 to 85 students still are in there in our current 9th grade. And so students get entered in there and begin right away with being on a pathway. Now we have our ag prep pathway, we have our teach and lead pathway, and we have a health pathway as well, which is now focusing on psychology. So with that, you don't have a lot of time, and you definitely don't have any time to miss classes or to get a D or lower, because notice that the college pathway to get the degree is 60 credits. So some of those carry over and double count for A through G, but you need to make sure that you're passing everything so you can stay on track for getting your degree. Failing or getting delays might mean you're not getting the degree, or you're not going to get the degree on time. Now, we know not every student might be ready right off the bat to jump into college courses for a full pathway sequence. So they're all going to get student development to get a touch of college classes in 9th grade. And then at the end of 9th grade, we start looking for students to enter the CSU Breadth. Now, the CSU Breadth is known as our OAK pathway, and in the the OAK trajectory. And in this, they are going to grow an oak tree that's going to be their CSU Breadth. Those are 39 credits, as you see here, and those are all the introductory college courses. We like to call these Gen Ed courses, or the required courses that usually every college just kind of requires for freshmen and sophomore. And so this goes in, and students already have 39 credits that will transfer into UC and CSU. And for them, they now will have fewer classes they have to take, which impacts finances, graduating earlier, starting and getting your salaried position earlier, and all of those things. Additionally, around the same time and into the next year, we look at students who are going to complete their A through G high school and take 30 exploratory college classes. So you can notice the full pathway was 60 college credits. The CSU Breadth is 39 college credits. And now we have the Redwood A through G 30 plus exploratory, which is at 30 college credits. So at this point, you can see how there are multiple tiers for students to get in and still get to that 30 credit and mark. Now, we believe out of the majority of the students, we're going to be sitting at about 87 to 95% are going to be able to achieve one of these 3 buckets and get into their 4-year college access. That is sort of our target when we're looking at these. Now, we know that for other family situations or individual students, there need to be some other options. So the high school diploma is an option. It is not A through G, but a D is accepted. So for that means that you'll get your high school diploma, but you will have to go to a community college, tech school, career training in order to be able to then apply to a 4-year university. Not many students will fall into this bucket every year. And then even smaller, we have a high school certificate, which is based upon an IEP team. These are for those students that might be in a 504 or have an IEP. And so these are very specific and limits a lot of post-secondary options, but is a team decision from the special ed department, family, community, and the school team as well. So again, looking over, internally, we call these our trajectory trees. So for those that are going for the full pathway, we have you as the sequoia tree. Then we have our oak tree, we have our redwood tree, and we have our olive tree, just in case you hear those terms being talked about by staff and counselors. Now, next year, I'm not going to go over all of these, but I want you to see that every semester we really have a game plan in place, and we go, what needs to be true for us to be winning? And so here you can see that each of these are goals and targets that we are working on as an admin team to push forward and keep growing the school for adults, students, and our community. So next, I want to jump into some quick data points to share with you all, which is super exciting. So quick highlights. One, last year's seniors, we had 137 graduate, which is amazing. That's a pretty large number for us historically. But what is really awesome is that 89% of the 137 qualified as A through G and have access to four-year universities. This number is significant increase from our neighboring schools and districts, and allows us to really set that plan in motion with that vision about getting kids into college where they can succeed. Additionally, out of the 137 that graduated, just to put out, 93 of them are going straight into a four-year university, and another 20 are doing a community college, junior college, or tech school, which is awesome. I want to talk some big wins here. We saw chronic absenteeism in our community drop from 31 to 16%. That is well below the state, well below what we were seeking as a school. Now, those things increase. One, students are here, they're going to learn more. Students are here, they're going to make more friends. Students are here, they are going to grow. So getting them here is the most important part. We also saw that as a decrease in unexcused absences from 37 to 29%. Notice that last year we finished at 29% and the state was at 38%. So again, we're moving in the right direction. Also, with new grading plans in place and some more support systems for students, we saw a significant decrease in missing assignments. We saw students decrease. We saw about a 54% decrease in the number of missing assignments from semester 1 to semester 2. So great things happening. And again, parents, families, and students, thank you for all of your attention and work at this point. Down here, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if you see those numbers, those are the number of kids that are at or above grade level in both math and ELA. So looking at those, we have a significant amount of student population that are functioning where they should be or above where they should be. And that is the beginning of the promise to expanding on those opportunities after high school. We also want to share out some reclassification data points. So reclassification is for our EL students who are in ELD. And we are so excited that last year reclassification was at 13%, which beat all the historical numbers we had for our school, which was at 9%. The county, which was at 9.92%, and the state that was 8.6%. So really excited to keep this going and opening up those opportunities. So thanks to family, students, Miss Lee, and all teachers on campus for supporting our EL students. Here's a number, and again, the graph doesn't make too much sense. You don't got to stare too much, so I'll narrate. Over here are the number of responses in each grade for winter and spring that were considered normal, timely responses on the map. That means that these are the number of students who are significantly trying on the map assessment to show what they know. And what you can see here is 96, 99, 98, 97, 97, 98, 100, 100, 98, 100. Students are trying to show that. They are showing up and really working hard, and this assessment really helps them grow and allows to give us feedback to keep pushing them forward. Now, we still have a couple students up here. We only have 2 students that are considered high risk for guessing too much. And really only about, 5, 11, almost like 20 plus to 30 kids who are low risk that might have guessed on a few questions too quickly. So we're going to work on these because we want 100% of students taking the test effectively. But again, it's just showing how many more students and how much we've grown in their attention to detail for that. Over here on this slide, you can see our comparison of our fall, winter, and spring to the national mean. The national is this gray bar that's sort of sitting at, and in some places below, where we are. I want to highlight ELA first. And so you can see here that both for 9th and 10th grade in the fall, we were roughly at the national mean. 11th grade was above. And you can see it grow and grow and grow. And then over here, last year's ninth graders got above that point. They were able to get above, and we're at a 226 when the national mean was at 221. And then over here above it as well. So just ELA getting above where the rest of the students are in the nation. Mathematics had a significant jump, particularly looking if you compare these. It might not look like a lot, but it actually is. Pretty significant that we were able to get 9th and 10th grade close to the mean, and 11th grade still functioning well above the mean in mathematics. Now these two charts are going to show growth. They show what the system predicts the growth to be and what the growth actually was. And so here you can see that in grade 9, 10, 11, this soft green color is the number the system thinks the kids should be growing, what the average growth is. And so in 9th grade, it was supposed to be 2.6, but our kids grew an average of 5.1. In 10th grade, the system predicted 2.5. Our kids grew 5.8. And in 11th grade, went from 2.1 to 2.4. Now, 11th grade start out with many more in the higher buckets, which is harder to grow, but significant growth in 9th and 10th grade. So our kids are growing in language arts, ELA, much faster than the system predicted. Likewise, in math, all ended up either the same or higher in growth for math as well. So a lot of great things across the board. We're going to have even more to share out in the coming weeks and months ahead from last year's successes and the launch of this year. So real quick, what is some extra support that you can think about adding this year at home and outside of school to keep the student acceleration happening? So first, thinking about the morning family support. So first off, if you need to get some uniforms, please have students come to Miss Julie or ask a teacher, and we'll be able to find and work with them to purchase new uniforms. But as a parent, one of the things we find that kids often say is helpful is whenever parents are either setting out the uniform or are in charge of making sure the student themselves put out the uniform. But having the uniform out the night before or location in the morning, make sure that they get into uniform in the morning without having to rush around and try to find a pair of pants or try to find where the shirt is, and just get help making sure that they know where those pieces are early as they build those systems back in after summer. Next, just checking in with them to say, like, hey, do you have your Chromebook? Do you have your charger? And just make sure, you see it and that it's there and that they are getting ready for school. So are you dressed for school and success? Are you packed with your resources for success? And then next is all about the breakfast. Students at home or on campus should be taking advantage of eating a good breakfast. The food we put in keeps our brain fueled and keeps our brain moving and keeps our brain learning. If we're not eating healthy, then we're going to see those problems come out either in behaviors, in low grades, or other aspects. So it's really important to get a good start off by eating something good for you in the morning. And last thing is just always tell parents, like, positive reminders from you all go so far. And you know this, but when you leave them in the morning, like, I know you're going to do great things today. Or I believe that you are growing and changing. These small phrases mean a lot to kids. And I know some parents put sticky notes in their notebooks or sticky notes in a lunchbox or will send them a text message. But words of encouragement, words to push them to keep at it, mean a lot from you guys at home. All right, jumping into daily and evening support. So throughout the week, look at Aries and be checking for updated grades. Most teachers will update grades by end of day Tuesday. You want to look for C's or better. I know everybody wants straight A's, and that's amazing, but really what should be your first big flag is when you start seeing any decreases of grades and then any grades that get below a C. Because remember, if they get below a C, they're going to have to take that course again in order to potentially graduate and get into college. Look at Aries also for the number of missing assignments. First, you just check, like, are the number going down? If they are going down, that's good. The student's getting them turned in. And roughly 1 to 2 missing assignments per class we see as a normal number. And so if you're seeing those things, don't get freaked out. But if you start seeing, maybe 15 or more total, or 3 or more in each class, or one class that has 5 or more, those are all significant issues. And so we want to get ahead of those early before it gets too late. We often weekly send out a lot of information on grades, missing assignments, and tardies that will be starting in a couple weeks. So once we get there, just make sure you're checking on those, as they'll give you a good pulse check as to where your student is and any action steps to take. Next is you have dinner as a family or a night. Make sure you're checking in with the kid to have them reflect on the day. One, it's really good and builds those family relationships, but also it pushes them to reflect. And when they reflect, they're more likely to remember. So ask things like, how was your day? What's something cool you learned? Something exciting happened? Like, were you chilling with your friends today? Like, talk to them and get them to open up and reflect about their day the best they can. And the more they do that, the more they're actually going to solidify their growth. Ideally, students outside of BC should be spending around 20 to 30 minutes at night for homework at best. And this could be used to continue or finish reading, to finish up a paper, complete an assignment, maybe make some note cards. Now, if your child or you, student, are watching this, you will probably need more time for BC, and that will fluctuate depending on the assignment at hand. All right, weekend support. So Saturday, Sunday, try to set aside 30 to 45 minutes for them to be at the dining room table, in a comfy seat, at a desk, something, and have them do that. If they don't have any missing assignments to make up, which is always one of the things to check for, and they don't have any current work, then I would have them either log into Study Island or Desmos, which is our math program. And so you can have them work on those academic programs. You can have the student make flashcards for key terms from their notes, which is also a great strategy getting ready for college, or read and reread and annotate any text, stories, etc. that they may need to do. And finally, just all together, what are we trying to work on to grow our students this year? So one of the things we want to work on first is the language, and having students understand that the words we use matter a lot. Listen, we know that the pandemic was hard, and coming back, there were some new social norms. And one of the things that we have sort of not focused on a ton is student language use on campus. Now, obviously, if it's coming up and it's reported and it's a deal, we have handled it in the past. But right now, we really want to focus on having students understand that how they speak in turns changes how people perceive them. And we want to work with them on making sure that they understand their context, so that they can choose their words, their tone, and their language more appropriate to that context. Next, just a reminder that uniform is a proactive protection for all students. When we are all wearing our uniform, there is no lower, middle, or upper class on campus for those. And so it really brings about equality, because I can tell you not all of our families have the resources or the means to produce several sets of high quality clothing that could be judged or looked at as in other schools without a uniform. And so this is to help bring down and reduce any of the threats of bullying that could happen and does happen when a uniform isn't present. Next, for us, the process is as important as the product. Historically, I think in schools, there was a focus on, well, as long as you get it done, that's fine, and you would turn it in. But for us, it's really about getting in the work with you and doing the work with you so we can experience and help you with those parts. And so we want to focus on, well, procedurally, how do we help you navigate when you struggle? Because if all we focus on is the product, we don't get the piece of the process that it took to get there. And so that changes a lot about how we do work, where we do work, and when we do work, so that teachers can be present for it while it's happening. Next, we have a lot of groups on campus, and they are very segregated, and often by areas where they live. And so what we want to do is we've really reduced the conflict between all the groups, but now we want to find a way to really help mesh our groups together so that they feel like there is one wolf pack and not different areas of wolf packs. And lastly, we also want to help our students and push them to be advocates for themselves and use all of the supports on campus, from the wellness center, our social worker, our school counselors, the admin team. We have so many supports on campus, including tutoring, that we want students to know those and use them more often. And so that'll be one of the things we're working on growing in our students as well. All right, well, this has been a good kick off the year orientation with some data points, some key goals, as well as some basics around the school year. Look forward for some more information from Parent Square as we move forward. And as always, so long, Wolfpack. And remember, rise up, reach out, and be heroic.